What's going on? What's going on? You guys know me by now. Hopefully, if you don't get to know me, my name is Phil Jones or Mike Jones, however you know me, personally or professionally. And I am the host of the number one podcast to be in America, in the world, Craig. Not the city, the world, Craig. Well, I'm the number one host of them all. Phil Jones, Mike Jones, however you know me personally and professionally. Now, I'm going to introduce greatest. I don't even like calling him a co-host. It's my brother. When we get on here, we talk. We talk like this since we was kids. These same conversations, the same style, the same format of the conversations, it's been the same since we was boys. Let me tell you something. It's an honor sharing this stage with this man. Glad y'all tune in every time that y'all tune in. Y'all know who it is, man. Introduce yourself.
What is going on, people? It is Midas. Make sure you put a king in front of that. Let's go.
Now, if y'all don't know, King Midas was the one who turned everything to gold. Now we ain't gonna get into the fool story because he ain't that much of a fool. But at the same time,
There you go.
we we see where the gold line stopped because we anyway Jersey. So the future, brother. What is our future predicated on, my man?
uh, a few things. The future is predicated on our relationships and how we are going to develop as couples now. How we date now, how we interact with each other now, uh, how we make our money, how we work, how we decide to work, technology. It's how we drive on the road. Like, I mean, the future is just such a broad thing, you know. But moving forward, yeah, there are definitely going to be some changes in how we operate, what I'm saying, as humanity.
My definition is very simple. The future is how do we invest in the next generation? What are we instilling in the next generation? What are we telling them? What are we giving them? How are we priming them to be competitive in whatever the next market is getting ready to be? What are we feeding them? What are we surrounding them by? What does their education look like? What methods work? What methods don't work? I want to talk about as much of that as we can cram into an hour long episode.
Okay.
And I want to have this conversation because Saturday is a day that most traditionally people are spending time with their children, spending time with your wife, spending time with your husband, spending time with your significant other, going outside to go and dip with your boo, whatever it is that you into. Saturday is generally the day that that's going to happen, whether it's turning up at night or whether it's turning down in the morning, waking up and knowing you ain't got to be at work the next day. Whatever that is, quality time is one of the first investments. Spending that time, how you spend that time, what you do within that time, how impactful what you doing in that time is to the future generations. You may not know it today, but that 30 minutes to an hour that you are bone tired after getting off work, that you spend playing Uno with those kids, they'll never forget it. That Monopoly game night that every Thursday looking forward to, every Tuesday, every whatever situation, that night that everybody play video games and we give you an extra hour on your bedtime leeway, whatever your thing is, you really don't know how impactful that is to your children when it comes down to their development, when it comes down to their understanding, when it comes down to how they feel confident based off of the things that you've instilled in them. Let's talk about that, Mice.
I think that's very important. Um, it's always the little things that matter, especially when it comes to a child. Uh, Giving that little bit of extra time playing the Roblox, playing with the Play-Doh, what I'm saying? Like, those are memories that they're gonna cherish forever, and building that bond, which is, what I mentioned, relationships, how how we deal with relationships and handle relationships moving forward in the future, that's definitely a big part of that. So having that bond, having that relationship, having your child, especially with the way that these ideologies is being pushed today, I mean, to me, it makes sense to make sure that you're in your child's life more than ever. Especially with these agendas being pushed through these schools and being pushed in all of the music and entertainment and advertisement and trying to change and confuse the way our kids think and everything. It would behoove you to really hone in and zero in and really spend a lot of time with your child.
You know, I was sitting there thinking as you were saying that it's just like there are so many lines that we could toe, but I'm down to cross a couple if you down.
Yeah,
Um, I feel
I'm
like
I'm not scared of cancel culture.
there's a lot of what happens that we forget that first education comes from home. So when you're not invested in your children's every day, when you don't have a plan for their lives, I think that we do the greatest level of disservice by not taking the time out to really look and say, I'm going to expose my son to firefighters. I'm going to expose him to police officers. I'm going to expose him to the football team. I'm going to expose him to this. Not necessarily that I want you to play football, but I want you to learn how to communicate with people. I want you to learn how to be courteous. I want you to learn that things that you want in life are better accomplished as a team than they are as an individual. There's certain things that people understand: the cultivation of relationships, the confidence that they have to do things, the reassurance that a community will give you, that being an individual that you have to artificially manufacture. I really feel that the first education starts at home concept has literally vanished. That we're so busy that we send our kids to school. They come home, they have no idea about the schoolwork. They have no idea about the curriculum. The first thing that you say is, well, what have you been doing in school all day?
Mm.
Like, we don't remember that there was other social factors that tied into either why it was harder to focus, or like we don't know that there's more than one style of learner, but traditional education only caters to one style of learner. That some learners will not necessarily get it because the schools are not necessarily created to benefit them. For
Hmm.
instance, somebody who's an auditory learner who can listen to a lecture and they could grasp the material. Cool. But what about the person who got to put their hands in it? Can't put my hands in algebra. I can't put
Hmm.
my hands in reading comprehension. I can't put my hands in English. I can't put my hands in Spanish. I can't put my hands in it. I need to touch it. I need to feel it. There's some people that you can't show them how to do it. They got to go up to the chalkboard and they got to work the problem out. And once they got it, once their hands have done it, they can replicate it over and over again. That you can't tell them, but you got to guide them through. There's all different types of learners that you have, but we know that the school system is not catered to, unless you paying for private school, of course. It's not catered to all styles of learners. So let me ask you something.
Yeah.
You said something last night in our podcast. If you guys haven't seen it, make sure you go to the Extraordinary Man and check it out, to the Extraordinary Man YouTube page. Um, you had 3 days for a contract.
Hmm.
You spent the first 2 days binging YouTube videos to learn how to do it.
Hmm.
And then on the third day, you knocked it out the park.
Correct.
You know what I didn't hear you say? Is you used your 2-year electrical engineer certification that you got from the union.
Hmm.
You know what I didn't hear you say? I didn't hear you say that you apprenticed under somebody for 6 months to a year. You know what I didn't hear you say is that you were working at the security camera store and you just so happened to get mentored by somebody. You went on YouTube and self-taught yourself with information that was readily available to anybody.
Hmm.
So when you putting your kids into school and you just sending them out there into the world to go and figure things out, what are you really teaching? What are you really teaching them? Do you think that traditional school may be played out?
Absolutely. 100%. Because the way that traditional school is set up the way, or is set up to operate the way that it has always been set up to operate. To back then, it still operates today. It's set up to program you to be a worker. It's set up to program you to build your life around something else or somebody else, or program your life around your job. It's there's no school out there that teaches you to be self-proficient, to go out there and learn how to do it on your own, to teach you how to become financially intelligent. Like, it just doesn't exist. It's the pipeline to either prison or Walmart. That's it.
So I want to look up a definition. I want to share this definition with y'all. Y'all tell me if y'all can see this definition. Can you see it on the screen?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
Hmm.
One day we're gonna master the art of getting this together, y'all. I'm trying. I'm working with the best things I got here.
Hmm.
So the definition is called responsibility, and I'm gonna break this down to the best of my ability to make this make sense in pertaining to what we're talking about today. The state or fact of having a duty to deal with something or having control over someone. The state or fact of being accountable or to blame for something. The opportunity or ability to act independently and make decisions without authorization. The first
Those-
two definitions kind of sound alike, don't they?
Yeah, yeah, and it kind of contradicts the last definition a little bit.
Because the last one says the opportunity or ability to act independently and make decisions without authorization. So, one of these things is saying that you operate within parameters
Set by somebody else.
set by somebody else, and you do according to what is expected of you to do. And that's one layer of responsibility. But the next definition says that you can act by being given the opportunity or ability to act upon doing your own thing.
Hmm.
It didn't say that you were doing your own thing based off somebody else's perspective of things. It said doing your own thing. So here go the keys to the car. Eldest child, go outside. Go enjoy yourself. Go ride around. Go whatever it is that you do. I didn't tell you that you had to put gas back in the car. I didn't tell you that you can only drive from here to here. I didn't tell you that you had to go and come and when to be back. I gave you the keys and told you it's your world. One way to look at that is you know what my expectations are, so operate within the confines of my expectations. The other way to look at it is go do your thing. And whatever you do, you understand that there's a consequence, whether good or bad, for the actions that you take. Choose wisely. Think about that in regards to how we raise our children.
Mm-hmm.
Just really think about it. You get your children up every day to go to school, to go and do certain things that they do. They get dressed, they get their head done. If you got girls, whatever the circumstance is like, there's a image that you have to go and do a certain thing within certain parameters. That if you're in a private school, you may have to dress in uniform. If you're in a public school, you can dress how you want to as long as it's within the dress code.
Mm-hmm.
But in the confines of your house, you can wear the tank top. And you can wear the pajama pants and the flip flops with the little bunny ears on the bottom. Why? Because ain't no dress code where you at. So whether you choose to get up and do your hair every morning or you choose to get up and you walk around and you look half dead, that is your choice. You are responsible for yourself in a capacity that you choose. Apply that toward education. Do you know what your children want to do?
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times we try to force archaic standards on our children solely based off of the fact of where either we didn't go, what we didn't do, or we still believe in the old guard way of doing things, that is primary school, college, get your degree, graduate, get the job, start the business, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
But we still feel that fear that if your child don't have a traditional education or a piece of paper behind their name to dictate their worth. I don't know what degree Sam Walton had before Walmart was created.
You didn't.
I didn't know.
You didn't. I mean, hell, Henry Ford, if I'm not mistaken, dropped out of 6th grade.
Let's find out. Henry Ford did not go to high school. He left school after finishing 8th grade.
8th grade. Okay.
He was about 15 years old and did
Yeah.
not go back for any further education. Later on, he did take a few business courses, but he never got a high school diploma or graduated from college.
Mm. And I say that to say this, there are some professions out there that you just have no choice but to get a degree, and rightfully so. I don't think anybody should be able to just walk into a hospital and start, poking and probing people. I think there definitely should be a high level of education that we have at the time that person wants to do that, and to know and be very knowledgeable of that information. But other stuff like Learning how to build a car, I don't think that requires, you know what I'm saying, an extremely high level of education. That's just my opinion. You know, you're not I don't think you're necessarily putting anybody at danger as long as you following the schematics right, you good to go. So that's just me.
I think that we have far surpassed the days of traditional education for majority professions.
Yeah.
I do think that education is more so about the endurance than it is about the application. Not that you don't learn good beneficial things in school, but majority of what you're gonna learn and carry with you is what you learned in the field. I have very few people that I have ever met that have been hugely successful at anything. They can always go back to a college professor or somebody or a college mentor or something like that that made them think, that opened their brain up to make them see the world in a different light. But very seldom do you see people reference specific things out of textbooks to say, man, I remember when I saw that one thing that I read in a sociology 101 class that it changed my life.
Yeah, you're right. For sure, cuz the I ain't never done that, and I've never worked with anybody ever in any industry that I've come across reference a book outside of maybe referencing maybe a quote that they heard from somebody, or referencing maybe another entrepreneur that they follow. But yeah, I ain't never heard nobody reference anything out of a sociology book, out of a high school textbook. I remember when I ain't never heard that
I've
ever.
never heard anybody reference anything out of a business book, out of an economics book. I've never heard it.
Mm-mm.
I've heard more people referencing this book here in regard to business and economics. For those who don't know, that's Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a recommended must read. Yes, you need to have some endurance. But you'll find more quotes or more of your favorite internet personality or guru who have quoted the great Thomas Sowell than you'll probably find that you'll ever find in other academics. My thing is, I'm not dissing academics. I'm not dissing anybody who's accustomed to the traditional way. What I'm saying is the fact that when I look at my own child and I look at how I feel like trying to teach her the traditional way is actually hindering her. I think it's actually hurting her. I do think, and I'm gonna say this. I think some people should drop out of school, go take the GED because they hate school. I think some people should pursue certificates. I think some people should just go start businesses. I think some people should just go do certain things and start from scratch, work a job, keep your debt low, earn enough money to be able to save up and start investing gradually in the thing that you really love to do. And then once you get to that pinnacle, go for broke.
Yeah, I think the person that you referencing to just drop out, just grab the GED and move on, that's your Mark Zuckerberg. That's your Jeff Bezos.
I think that education is really broken down to what sparks the interest or what sparks the idea that's going to
Hmm.
foster the action. That there's nothing that I'm going to learn about George Washington unless I'm in a sphere to where George Washington, the education of George Washington, is going to, first and foremost, your average history book, right? It teaches you this vast time frame between early civilizations, it may go as far as the Big Bang, dinosaurs, the Ice Age, Iron Age, the different ages, the different types of rocks, stalagmites, stalagmites. Then we might get
Hmm.
into the Sumerians, we get into the ancient Egyptians, we're going to get into the Hebrew. I mean, with the Israel, we're gonna get into just all the old cultures, the theories, the many gods, the some the polytheism, the monotheism. We're gonna get into all of that up into a certain point, then all of a sudden it's gonna be very slow and steady. America was started in this time and this time, the Declaration of Independence and the War of 1808, and the War of this time and this time and this time and this. It's like, wait a minute, you mean to
You
tell
you
me
you know what, bro?
what?
And all of that you know what I'm saying, listed off your Aztecs and Mayans and you know what I'm saying, like all of that, learning all of that, you know what I'm saying, Zulu Nation and all that, definitely learned about that. But how the hell is that gonna help me install these cameras, dog? Like I don't, and I'm not trying to be bogus
You
or
ain't got to
say
explain
that.
yourself, man.
You
Speak
know
your
what I'm
piece.
saying? But it's like I don't give a damn about none of that. I don't give a damn about a George Washington. I don't care. I don't care about a Biden. I don't care. I absolutely don't care. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Again, not bogus. I don't care about a Jesse Owens. I don't care. How does that help me install these cameras, dog? Like I really think that if the information that I'm learning has absolutely nothing to do with where I'm trying to go, if I'm trying to be a historian, okay, that matters. World War II, you know what I'm saying, learning about the Great Depression and Tulsa, Oklahoma, and all it, learning about all those historical events or whatever. If I'm trying to go work at a museum, okay, that makes sense. If I'm trying to be a librarian, okay, then I need to learn this and this and this. If I'm trying to do this, then I need to learn this and this and this. I ain't trying to do that. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of people can agree with me.
I think
Why?
when we look at the level of high school dropouts and we look at the level of people who just get lost in the system, I don't think that it's all just a byproduct of fatherless homes and all the things. Like we can't just blame one sector, although we do know the impact on what that is as far as these things. I think some people are just bored to tears. I think some people are just like, oh my God, this is just I am dying here. I really think for a lot of people, like I said last night, I pussyfooted through college for many years because it was a crutch that you were holding on to that is like one day I'm gonna finish school because I'm so tired of y'all. And it literally got to the place to where I was really tired. My reason was that I'm gonna go do what I want to do all over the place, and then when y'all piss me off is when I'm gonna finally go back to school. And it's like, well, why ain't you pissed off enough to finish?
Mm.
Because clearly this ain't what you want to do. I don't want to flip burgers. I don't want to be cleaning up after people. Like, dude, you know how demeaning it feel to be the bus boy, to be the person that come and clean up the club after everybody just turned up. You know how that feel to sit there and look at the glass with the lipstick on and stuff like that, and you just wondering what were they talking about? What kind of conversation were they having? What was happening right then? What was the guy like that came up and picked up and this, that, and the third? Like, you start feeling like in a lower version of yourself, like deep in your loser thought process as far as, man, like, I'm so uncool, bro. Like, I'm the least cool person on the face of the planet. Like, I'm cleaning up after somebody had a good time. I feel like maid service. I'm
And
gonna
Jasper
go.
wants some food.
You said what?
I hear the meow and Jasper wants some food.
No, the window open and he out here talking crazy. Everybody, I'm a cat lover. I'm a cat lover. On the catwalk. Nah, but I look at things and I say to myself, like, man, at one point in time, education, like at the collegiate level, was like a 2 year certificate to where you went right into school and you studied what you wanted to do. You were going into business, you were going into electronics, you were going into whatever you were going to, IT, whatever. You went straight into the certificate program. You didn't take core prerequisites. You had to have this much
Hmm.
math and this much. This is like education is a racket, bro.
Hmm.
The education system is a freaking racket. It is literally just some place to where people are soaking up money off people for classes that are unnecessary. I don't need
Unnecessary.
this. I don't need this. I'm trying to be an electronic engineer.
Yeah. Why do I need to be in art class?
I
What?
don't I don't need
Why
art
do I need?
therapy. Like,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Right.
yeah, listen, I'm trying to get into the law program. Okay, cool. I get it.
What
I
does
get
that?
what
Right.
I
Right.
get
Law.
what
What does that have to do with photography?
yeah, like
Why am I taking this class?
oh, you gotta take these electives. Like all the cool stuff is in my electives. Why am I taking a lab? I don't need a science with a lab. Why I need science with a lab? For what? What am I taking this for? I didn't want to do this when I was in high school. That was one of the deterrents for the reason why I didn't want to go to college. They want to do this crap. I didn't want to do this. So forgive my energy and my slightly high-pitched voice, everybody. This is one of the things. So I'm trying to acknowledge the fact that when we start looking at the investment in our children, investment in our futures, how much of what we are forcing on the future is relevant to their future? You got to go to school, get good grades. You got to go to school, get good grades. For what? The dude who just skated through, who got the same degree as the dude who was the valedictorian, they make the same money. Sometimes the dude who just skated through, he was focused more on hustling and trying to figure out how to sell himself. And sometimes he get offered a better deal because he didn't rely on his degree or his status with the degree to get him over. I know a lot of people with degrees that feel like I can't go and work a regular job. I won't go work this type of job or that type of job. I only want to work the job that I'm in. Like, yeah, if I'm $100,000 in debt in student loans for this degree because I had to go to this school, I had to have an Ivy League degree, I had to have it from one of these prestigious names. It just had to come from like that was the flex.
Hmm.
Like, think about it. Whether you went to Harvard or whether you went to Southern Illinois at Carbondale, the goal is to come out and work for somebody. And the amount of debt that you have when you come out. So imagine if I go to this HBCU for law school and pay $40,000 for a law degree, or I'll go to this prestigious law school over here and I'm $200,000 in the hole for the same Juris Doctorate degree.
Yep. And the only thing you got is you got a fancier name behind it.
I got the name that's inscribed on the piece of paper that I hang over my wall is my flex.
That's it. You can get the actual name brand version, or you can get Walmart's version.
I can get the
That's
malta
literally the
meal.
difference.
I get the Fruit Loops or the malta meal.
Yeah. Or
Two
or the
cans
or the fruity rounds.
fruity O's. I mean, like,
Serves the same purpose. You ain't hungry.
yo, you want what you want the Lucky Charms or King Vitamin?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But this all I'm saying is that, with all due seriousness, I think that a lot of us may be doing our children a huge disservice. I think that we're doing the future a huge disservice by when you have these conversations and you try to continue to push the traditional way of doing things as if that's the only way to do things. You ask yourself realistically, how much of my success story is based off me doing the traditional thing? Get out of college. Get out of high school. Go straight to college. Get out of college. Go straight to the workforce. Get out the workforce and go through the workforce for 47 years and boom, there you go. Successful life. That's just how it happened. I worked the same job for 30 something odd years.
But nothing to
Retired
show
with a
for it.
gold watch. All that. I did all of that. That was the culmination of my life. Raised my kids, all for working for this job. I worked myself up the ladder while I was at that job. I hit max pay while I was at that job. I was highly respected in my community at that job. That sounds like a cool story. from the 1950s and 40s.
Hmm.
That ain't how it work here. You got to be competitive. You got to be smarter. You got to take the skills that you have. You have to be willing to make the jump when it's necessary to make the jump. That's how this goes. You have to really look at this thing and realize that you're playing chess. You are competing for resources at a drastic rate. You ain't just competing against domestic labor. You can be competing against foreigners who they come here and their whole mind is, oh well, we look at them like, oh man, so and so is so smart. They get all straight A's and this, that, and the third. They're hustlers. It ain't about the grades. It's about the grind. I'm willing to
Hmm.
do more than you to get the goal.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what a lot of this boils down. Because his daddy will drive a taxi so that he can become the doctor. But you too good to flip a burger. There's a lot of times that we sit here and we look at things and we start talking about the future. And we'll talk about investments and where to put money up and stuff like that. But really and truly, what are we talking about, man? The future. Like you said, the cars, the technology. How long before we got the cell phone that I could sit on the table and then I could see the holographic like the Princess Leia pop up and I'm
Hmm.
having video chat in 3D with somebody where you could have a phone conversation from your telepad. How long before we
Or the
get
watch, the same thing. Boop.
yeah, where the Apple Watch now you pop up and now you got the head
Hmm.
like Laura Zordon is in my watch and stuff while I'm talking to you.
Hmm. Yep.
Or the little avatars and stuff that they make with the little talking thing that it does. Now that little talking thing is in a holographic screen right here where I'm at, and you can see me, and it can see me, and I can see you face to face while I'm just holding my wrist up like this. While I'm working out, I'm having a conversation with you, and I'm sitting here looking at a little face and stuff, talking. How long before that technology hit the street? How do we know that technology ain't already around in India or in Hong Kong or in any other industrial nation to where they're trying to outpace the United States?
Hmm.
It might already be here. It might already be in South Korea. And that's what hustling does. I think that at this point in time, we got to start really evaluating our children's strengths and weaknesses and encourage them to take alternative routes to get to the end.
Yeah, we have to be open-minded enough to want to have that conversation and or be open-minded enough to where we have to be okay with, you know, it, and I hate saying college ain't for everybody, but in this particular situation, you have to be open-minded enough to understand that college ain't for your kid, probably won't work for your kid, and help them navigate an alternative route, like you said, to get to the end goal of where they're trying to go.
Because at the end of the day, it's like, you don't need a degree to work for me. As my father. I mean, as your father. So when I built something, right? Let's just say that I had a farm that I was cultivating. It costs you nothing. I don't have to send you to dairy college so that you can come back and run the family farm. If I have a real estate portfolio that I've been maintaining for some sort of time that I have a good handle on, I don't have to send you to college to learn how to manage a portfolio that's already in your hands that you already have access to. Sometimes you have to really think about it that maybe you need to build something for them to build upon. When you look at something else, is that Donald
That
Trump's
part.
father gave him what he had for him to build and expand on. The same thing with Elon Musk. They didn't come from the dirt, they didn't come from the soil, but they were given a little bit of something and they micro expanded it. When they
Correct.
macro expanded it. Sometimes we have to look at it that maybe it is literally what we build that is going to turn around and take the next generation, they need that. Maybe that's what we need, is that it cannot be about following the traditional footsteps. How about you break because really the traditional footsteps that you eat off what your daddy got you. Your status is what your daddy built. That's really tradition. We
Right.
made tradition go to school, get a job. That concept, God, I can't say that because I got to get to the concept of going to go get a degree. Obviously, degrees have been around since Sigmund Freud and stuff like that. Oxford University and universities have been around forever. So I was getting ready to say something that was not rooted in facts. I'm apologizing for thinking, but we have to take into consideration the fact that billions of people have been living for a very long time, for many years, for reasons. Civilization continues to grow. Some civilizations they die out or they integrate into other civilizations because the archaic way of doing things no longer applies. Like you look at certain places in Alaska, certain places in Siberia, or in other places around the world that are more remote, that way of life, they don't care about industries, anything like that. If you live in a marine society that's kind of off the beaten path, they eat what they fish, they eat what they have. They drink the water, they live off the land.
Hmm.
Who am I to say that that's a bad life for somebody if that's what works? But when it comes down to expansion of society, those way of living does not compete with other factors. But it does in the sense of it's less stress. It's traditional. It's passed down. What your daddy went out there and taught you, spearfishing is how we eat. Spearfishing is our major commodity. That's how we make money. That's how we interact with other people. We sell this in order to get money by selling these the crabs and stuff like that. We have ownership over
Hmm.
the fishing that's in this area. And that's, well, guess what? Your son, your daddy was a crab fisherman, and you probably gonna be a crab fisherman.
That's
Or do
usually how
some,
that go.
or
If
expect.
hmm if great granddad, then granddad, then your dad, chances are you're gonna be that. Chances are more,
I I mean,
very high percentage.
at the end of the day, the whole thing that I look at is, as you stated earlier, some things that require a traditional method of doing things,
Some
but
things. Yep.
even how they educate is not the same.
Right.
You go into, I know people who went to medical school who talk about how the digital things are the way that they do things, as far as like sewing up incisions and things like that. That there's a digital um, simulator that they
Yeah.
use
They're
rather
using
than,
VR technology in the operating room now.
yeah, rather than you using cadavers and stuff like that that you normally
Hmm.
would back in the day. So there's advancements technologically all over the place to give you opportunities to integrate the way of the new with the way of the old. Open heart surgery is still an open heart surgery. You got to get your hands in there. Brain surgery, spine surgery, whatever, foot
All that.
surgery, whatever surgery, it's still going to be the same once I got to slice that boy open and get up in there, take a look at it, and see what I got to do. And I know I got a certain amount of time to get it done.
Hmm.
That's not going to change. But what happens when there's a machine that has the precision that a human being could never mimic? So what happens? I remember they were talking about X-rays or something like that in the medical facilities that um, the machines or whatever they can see. It's something about the machines specifically that they can see more fine-tuned things than the traditional X-ray, and that they're safer than the radiation that we're accustomed to with X-rays.
Damn, they almost sound like some type of LiDAR type of technology.
There's no telling. I mean, I couldn't. Again, certain things that I'm just trying to prompt the thoughts or researchers to think about it for themselves because I don't know specifically. I just know what I heard. While I was in the dentist's office and in other doctor's office and stuff because you start to notice things as time progresses. You
Hmm.
sit on these desks, you see these digital things going on, you see the charts, you see the computers that they wheel in. It's a lot different. Like
Hmm.
you don't have the doctor coming in with the little pad writing things on the pad as you go. She come in with her laptop.
Yeah, laptop, tablet.
Well, her
Hmm.
intern is typing up while she's going over different things. While she's doing her checklist, when she pulls out the stethoscope, he's typing, typing, typing. We check this, check this, check this. What's the blood
Hmm.
pressure? Blood pressure is this. Okay, blood is this. So forth is this. Okay, here we go. So now, what's wrong with you? As I done checked all your vitals and made sure all your vitals was in working order. Now, what's wrong with you?
Hmm.
So I say all of that to say this pretty much. I'm encouraging people to abandon, where applicable, the traditional method of how we educate our children. We have to step out of the fear of allowing them to show us what we've instilled in them. We have to trust that they know more about today than we do. They might not know more about life overall because of the lack of life experience, but they understand today because they live in today. We live in yesterday a lot of the times. When Busta Rhymes was extinction level event and he was all over the radio and everything,
Hmm.
that was my time. I didn't expect my mother to sit back like, oh, Busta Rhymes, like, yeah, he's. But if I ask her about the OJs, I might have an appreciation for it, but it's not my time. It's like I tell people, like, even though coming from Chicago, like, yeah, Michael Jordan was the enigma. Realistically, for my generation, Kobe Bryant was our Michael. By the time we got into high school and by the time we started really playing sports that mattered, Mike was gone. Kobe was the man.
Yeah, Kobe and Shaq. Yep.
So realistically, it's like a lot of our thought processes are very antiquated, and the kids now probably ain't saying nothing about Stephen Curry and LeBron James. They probably not even thinking. They probably thinking the new guys, or it's not Zion Williamson. Who's the Giannis? They probably thinking these guys, the newer guys. Like, oh, LeBron James, 17 years in the game and stuff, man. Dude, old man, retire already. 5 years from now, they're gonna be screaming Bronny James' name. This is the way the world goes. It continues to move. So we got to start trusting the fact that we instill enough common sense in our children. I think that's the best education possible is common sense. You instill common sense in them and instill in them a confidence to think for themselves. I think they'll get it from that. Many people might not agree with me. They think that we gotta coddle and keep our kids as young and as safe as humanly possible. But at some point in time, your baby girl, your baby boy, at some point in time they're gonna have to walk across that busy street, and you ain't gonna be there to hold their hand when they do it.
Hmm.
At some point in time, so if you don't teach them how to read the street light, and then they go out there and they have to go and read the street light, don't be surprised when common sense or lack thereof catch up with them and they almost get hit by a car. Oh, I didn't know the little man over there. I didn't know that meant to walk. I just thought the little white man was funny on the little thing. I didn't know. I ain't never walked nowhere a day in my life. We drove
Mm.
everywhere.
Mm. That's a disservice too, man. Make them get out there and work them shoes.
Man, get out there and go pace that block, man.
Hmm.
Walk them kids to that corner store, man. Well, I
Hmm.
don't feel like walking. So, because I don't feel like walking, the kids don't get the luxury of walking. Well, guess what? I know what it's like to cross a busy intersection. I already have that life experience. I know what it's like to walk that mall by myself and walk with my homeboys. I know what it's like to get ripped off at the car dealership or get ripped off at the the oil change spot or someplace like that. I know what it's like to be green and to have that experience to know, hey man, that didn't feel right. I don't know if I got gypped. I think I
But
got
I
gypped.
know how I feel.
I know how
I
I feel.
know
And
how I
now when
feel about it.
right, and now when I go and I start asking questions, like, oh, they got me. Okay,
All right. When
yeah.
you know
So
better, you
that's
do better.
yeah. You learn, but if you don't let them expose themselves to those experiences, you're doing them a disservice. So you got to instill common sense into them. You can't cram it in it. You got to give them just enough to trust that they'll identify certain things when they see it. You may not know you got, but you gonna know that you feel like you got. And once you know that you feel like you got, then now you're gonna come back, you're gonna ask follow-up questions and say, hey man, such and such happened, and I wasn't sure how to feel about it. I didn't spend the money, but I was real tempted to. Oh, you was gonna buy the Grant Cardone 10x program online because you wanted to get rich? Oh yeah, okay, cool. Did you read the reviews?
In 48 hours?
Did you read the reviews? They don't read the reviews. I was just watching the video and stuff, man. He was just real charismatic and stuff. And man, I believe everything he say. Like I swear, I want to be the next Grant Cardone. You do? Oh, okay, cool. Let me bring you over to CoffeeZilla real quick and tell me if you still feel that when we done.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I've been doing all this damn talking, man. You go. It's your turn.
So I want to go back to that word responsibility, and we're talking about the future and moving forward and how we're going to, now start to relay information to our kids or whatever. I am going to hold, especially after hearing this conversation, and I spoke about it before, that parents have an obligation and duty. I personally feel parents are not allowed to have this, I guess, this attitude of lack of information or lack of education. Uh, I didn't know. And it's your responsibility to find out. It's your responsibility to introduce your kids to real estate. It's your responsibility to introduce your kids to investing in stocks, teaching them what bonds are, teaching them what CDs are, teaching them about their social security card, teaching them about LLCs. Like it is the sole responsibility of a parent to do that, to set their child up to be the best or give them the greatest chances at life. Period. And especially now that we're living in an era of we're living in an information era. Just like there was an ice age, there's an information age. We're in the information age. And with all of this free access to information, and not only having the access to the information, but being able to cite where that information came from and to find other evidence of that information to validate the information that you just read. There's absolutely no excuse uh, for any parent to not be able to give their child or try to put their child in the best position possible for the greatest outcome that they can. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I got. That word responsibility, I am pushing that responsibility off on parents. You're going to have that responsibility and you're going to take ownership of that responsibility. Period. Now, if your child turn out and they still wanted to go off and do what they want to do and all that, but you know that you gave them the info, you did your job. You did your job. But
What you put in always comes back out. How
comes
about that
back
saying?
out.
That sayings go that what comes out, what goes into wash always comes out in the rinse.
If you don't know about real estate, then it is your responsibility to learn real estate so that you can pass that information to your child. If you don't know about rental car business, it's your responsibility to learn about rental car business to pass the information to your child. Your child should be set up with a ginormous database or data bank of information for them to start making decisions as to where they want to go. If your child wants to get into football, it is your responsibility to learn anything and everything, the rules and regulations and all of that about football, to set them up and to guide them in football. You yourself need to be football, not just showing up and the soccer mom dropping them off. You need to be invested. That
Agreed.
responsibility, that responsibility, you are stamped with that responsibility, whether you like it or not. King Midas put that on you, and that is the law of the land.
King Midas stamped and approved, baby. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna go ahead and close this thing out on time for a change. You know how much we enjoy hanging out with you guys and everything like that. Uh, as always, make sure you guys tune into the Extraordinary Men every Tuesday, every Friday at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and also at 7, I'm joking, at 10 a.m. and 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Hmm.
We enjoy having these conversations, and we may mess around and start adding some more layers to this thing. Maybe like some smaller little Q&A shows and stuff, but we'll get to that sooner and later. But as far as concerned, any last words, Midas, that you want to add on to this? Any sauce you want to add on these ribs?
I mean, as always, make sure that you head over to our YouTube channel, like, share, subscribe, and click the bell. Make sure that you hit us up on the Facebook Extraordinary Men Facebook group. You can chat with us right there, right in the chat, or you can hit us right up on the page. We don't bite. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you have any ideas that you would like discussed on the show, that's where you're going to reach out to be able to talk to us. You know what I'm saying? We're very welcoming. We're open. Uh, all men are welcome. You know what I'm saying? Women, uh, it's kind of crazy how this is a man show, but a lot of women do come in here and listen to what we got to say. And you know, women are welcome too. But yeah, any topics that you want to discuss, man, hit us up on the Facebook group. Like, share, subscribe, click the bell. That's all I got for you, man. Appreciate y'all rocking with us today, man. Thank you.
And as always, we truly appreciate all that you guys do for us. Come straight home from work just to come and sit down and share this content with you guys. Nothing but our thoughts, man. It's just our thoughts, baby. Little facts, just a tad bit of fact, but it's just our thoughts. Love you guys to death. Make sure you guys tune in Tuesday. We will be back.
We'll be back. Keep your ribs sauced up. Peace.